Today's video is sponsored by kunai threads. Whether it's a Blackbeard playmat, a Shanks shirt, or even a Doflamingo pickleball set, they've got you covered. Use code JohnnyTCG and hit the link in my bio to get 5% off your entire order. Thank you kunai threads for sponsoring this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Johnny TCG video. I'm Johnny TCG. I'm happy to see you here today. Today we're talking about Black Purple King from OP09. He's definitely a leader that not many people care about nowadays. I rarely see him on the sim. There's no discussion around him really, and frankly, I'm not going to stand for that. You need to be the change you want to see in the world, and so, hey, we're back revisiting Black Purple King. If you clicked on this video, shout out to you for having any interest at all in this leader. I'm happy to talk about this deck list I cooked up, and I think you're going to have a good time with it if you give it a try. Today we're going to be doing a deck profile, then we're going to do a custom leader giveaway. I think you're really going to want to check that out. It's a really nice leader, and you can win it for absolutely free. Then, of course, we've got games, testing out this deck list, seeing how it does, and then talking about it after. For those that don't know King, he's a purple-black 5,000 power leader, 4 life, of course, because he is dual typing, and he actually has 2 different leader abilities. Activate main once per turn, Don -2, you get to choose one of these abilities. The first one is that if you have 5 or less cards in your hand, you get to draw a card. This goes crazy late game. You'll see in the gameplay. This is just such an important ability that lets you counter out more often because you're going to get that card right back from using leader ability during your turn. Then, of course, we have the second ability, which you get to give one of your opponent's characters -2 cost. Again, another great ability, especially late game. That's when you're mostly going to be using King's ability. Late game, when you have Onigashima Island out, you're at 10 Don, so it's really not going to hurt you. If you're using King's ability early game, when you're at 3 Don, 4 Don, 5 Don, 7 Don, 6 Don, it's really going to hurt you, and you're probably not going to cook. You just need to ramp up to 10 and then start spamming leader ability basically. Taking a look at the deck list, we're going to start off with Charlotte Brûlée. We're running 4 of her. This is the one from OP08. I really like her in this deck. Definitely more than I expected. 4 cost 1000 power blocker with 1000 counter is not anything special, but her on KO ability is what we really like. You get to ramp a Don as rested. This is a nice sneaky way to ramp Don, and then also it is searchable with the 1 cost searcher event that we are running, and that is very important. Bon Clay could also be argued to take this 4 cost slot just because it does allow us to ramp on 4 Don as well if we don't have Onigashima Island, which we like to play on turn 2, but I've been using Charlotte Brûlée, and I've been liking her in this list. 4 9-cost Charlotte Lilin. 4 might be dramatic, but this card is just so good in this deck. I feel like it's really good in the current meta. Healing a life is so crucial, especially when you are a 4 life leader to start out with, and so you just naturally are going down in life quicker than your opponent. I like her at 4. I think you should give her a try. If you run her at 3, I don't think you're crazy, but this card is just so good, and you're able to ramp really fast to her. 4 Black Maria. Now, I don't think Black Maria is perfect in this deck, and I don't mean she's bad, but I just mean she definitely fits better in the starter deck for Kaido. I just did a video on that leader, check it out. But when you combine her with the next card I'm going to talk about, 10 cost Kaido and Linlin, it's just going to go crazy. At the end of the day, she is a searchable 2K. How can you hate that? And then, of course, her ability of ramping 5 Don can come in handy sometimes. 10 drop Kaido and Lilin. I'm only running one of these because this card is so situational, but it can really save you a game. I do have a game that we'll take a look at later on in this video where I think this single-handedly saves me the game. This ability is just insane. 10 cost, 12,000 power. When attacking, Don -10. KO all the characters on the field, and then you gain a life, and then your opponent trashes a life. Huge. That is absolutely ridiculous. It's 10 drop Big Mom combined with 10 drop Kaido. Who doesn't love that? Of course, going down 10 Don is really crazy. That's why we need the Black Marias. If you can play down a Black Maria the next turn or on the turn that you're going to use this ability and combine her with the 5 cost Sabo blocker that prevents her and all of your characters from being KO'd, you're going to be in an amazing spot, and I think you'll probably just win the game. No doubt, basically. Unless you're really in a bad spot, this card can really change the tide of the game. Maybe I bump them up to 2, but 1 seems fine. It's not the card you need to see for the most part. So yeah, I'm running 1. I love it. Give it a shot. 3 Queen blockers, 5 cost 6,000 power from starter deck 4. This is a great blocker. Draw 2, trash 1. Don -1 does feel bad if you're not playing this late game, and so there will be times when I play this out early and just not use their ability. It does feel kind of bad, but I'm not trying to de-ramp early on in the game. For Usohachi, not searchable, but this is a great 2K that can help you go for lethal. On play, if you have 8 or more Dawn on the field, rest one of your opponents cost 5 or less characters. You're going to be using this for a blocker for the most part, and then just go for lethal. For 1 cost 0 power 2K counter Surus, this is nothing crazy, mostly used as a 2K counter, but she does have some utility with the other cards in our deck. On play, give up to one of your opponent's characters -2 cost. This is mostly used as a 2K, but it has utility. What do you want me to say? 2 5 cost 6000 power Sabos from OP04. This is one of the best blockers in the game. Preventing all of your characters from being KO'd by effects is so strong, especially when you combo it with our 10 drop Kaido and Linlin. Keeping your board alive, but being able to wipe your opponent's board is insane. Also, you get to draw 2, trash 2, which is a nice way to filter out your hand. Sometimes you don't even want to filter out your hand. If you've got a really good hand, you're like, I don't want to trash any of these cards, but hey, it is what it is. Honestly, I'm considering bumping this up to 3 just because it's so good. 2 9 cost Kaidos, maybe I should bump this up to 3 as well because this card is so good in the deck. Combining him with leader ability, you're able to pop 9 cost characters, putting them in the trash to avoid the on KO prevention effects like Sabo. But yeah, 9 cost, 9000 power, on play, activate main. If you played him this turn, you may trash a card from your hand, trash one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 7 or less, then your opponent trashes a card from their hand as well. This is really strong late in the game. If your opponent is low on hand size, you can also get a really good card out of their hand. Of course, you don't get to choose the card, but if they only have good cards in their hand, they're going to have to trash one of them. Maybe I bring down Charlotte Linlin by 1 and then increase this by 1, just because I've been really enjoying this card in this deck. We're running 3 of the OP08 Queen Searchers for Animal Kingdom Pirates. This is just like a solid searcher. Unfortunately, he can't find himself, so you can't search out the 5 cost 6000 power Queen blocker with it. We also run the 1 cost event at 3, so like that's kind of a weird ratio having 3 and 3, but the 1 cost event does allow us to look for Big Mom Pirates characters too. So I'm looking at you, Charlotte Linlin, I'm looking at you, Charlotte Brule. It also has the trigger, so it's kind of personal preference. Of course, Queen does have a counter though, and I do appreciate that. We are going to be using these cards turn 1 if we can to find our Onigashima Island if we do not have it. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit and talk about Onigashima Island because this is one of the MVPs of the deck. Onigashima Island allows you to ramp Adonis rested every single turn. 3 cost, you're always trying to play this on turn 2. There is rarely a time I'm ever not playing this on turn 2 if I have it in my hand. Unfortunately, despite having 4 copies in my deck and despite having 6 ways to search it out, sometimes you still won't be able to find it by turn 2, and then it can be kind of awkward to play it later on in the game. Maybe you'll play it on turn 3, but depending on the situation, that might not be the right play, so it definitely feels bad if you can't find it. This deck loves the ramp. We're trying to get out our big bodies before our opponent can deal with them. If you really want to ensure you find it, you could bump up the searchers to 4 apiece, but that seems like a lot to me. Back on track, we're taking a look at Sasaki, just another 2K counter that has utility, but I'm mostly using it for a 2K. 1 cost, 1000 power, activate main, you may rest him and then you may rest the Dawn and then give one of your opponent's characters -2 cost for the turn. Nothing too crazy there. We're running 3 of the 7 cost, 8000 power Jack. You already know and you probably hate this card. On the field, he has +4 cost, so he's actually an 11 cost character, which makes him very annoying to deal with for you and your opponent if you're playing against the Jack. And then he's got the activate main of rest this character, draw 1, trash 1, and then pop one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less. Now, combining this with our leader ability, we're able to hit a cost 5 or less every single time. That feels so good. Later on in the game, I'm usually trying to establish the Linlin or the Kaido, but Jack is definitely a good option as well. 0 cost, 3000 power event, Gum Gum Jet Gatling. What more is there to say? We've got some bricks in this deck and we want to be able to turn them into counter. Last but not least, we do have 2 Ice Age. 1 cost to give your opponent's character -5 cost is absolutely strong. It combines amazing with our top end of Charlotte Linlin, and then of course Kaido gets to pop a 10 cost as well. Then we've got Jack that can also then hit an 8 cost, then combined with your leader ability gets you to 10 cost. Like, this card is really good. Maybe bump this up to 3. Like, that doesn't feel crazy. I do run a lot of 2Ks in this deck, which might be overkill, but you're going to want to counter a lot, at least in my opinion, because you're going to be able to use leader ability to draw those cards back, and you want to keep your life healthy. In this meta, 4 cost leaders can feel bad sometimes, so that's why we got a lot of 2Ks. We're trying to keep our life healthy. We don't mind not having a ton of cards in hand, because then we can use our leader ability of drawing a card when we're at 5 or less. I have tested the 10 cost Kuzan in this deck, 10 cost 10,000 power. During your turn, all of your opponent's characters get -5 cost, and then on play, you pop a cost 0 character or less. That is really strong, and like if you can establish him, you're going to be in such a good position. The issue is just establishing him. He doesn't have a ton of value on the initial on play, and can be removed with a Gum Gum Red Rock or a Raigo, so that's the reason why I'm kind of hesitant. I don't know, tell me if I'm crazy in the comments. And that's the list I'm running. Let me know what you think about it. I would love to hear your feedback below. If you're running this leader, I want to know how it's going for you. If you have any tips or notice anything, what kind of support would you like to see for it in the future? I definitely hope it does get more support just because I think this leader is cool. I like King the character, and yeah, let's make off meta. That's enough of me yapping about the deck list though. Let's get into the custom leader giveaway. Today we're going to be giving away a custom King leader using art from the One Piece manga. I am not the artist. I am not selling this. I am just doing a fun personal project. All you have to do to win this leader is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. It's as simple as that. If this video gets 15 likes in the first 24 hours, which might be tough because I don't know if anyone really cares about Black Purple King, let me know in the comments down below if you do. I'll send this to 1 US based. Comments are completely free. That's all you have to do is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. If you enjoyed the channel, if you enjoyed the content, if you want to stay up to date, consider hitting that subscribe button down below. It really helps out the channel, and I'll love you forever. Maybe. I don't know. Editor, they've had enough of me yapping. Roll the gameplay. Our first matchup of the day is against a Vivi player, Red Blue Vivi from OP04. This is not a very common leader, definitely not a meta matchup right now, but you would be really surprised just how good a good Red Blue Vivi player can be. They can really catch you off guard. Maybe it's just me, but Rayleigh with Rush, 6 cost Boa with Rush, those things really sneak up on you. We are on the odd curve, which is what we like. Unfortunately, we do not have the Onigashima Island, so we are just going to be doing 2 Queen searches this turn. We don't get anything too crazy. We get OP08 Kaido and a Black Maria, and then we're just going to swing 6,000 at their life. They've got the 2k counter for us, and we'll pass it back to them. 4 down for them to work with. For those that don't know, Vivi's ability allows them to draw a card and give a character Rush, so that can really, yeah, just put in work. I think about it. Rush Rayleigh, Rush Boa. There's a lot of opportunities and possibilities there. We're going to go 5,000 with our leader, and then for 5 down, we do have the Sabo. There's not a ton of cards in my hand I really want to filter. Like, honestly, I'm really loving my hand, but Sabo is really my only play right here. Get a blocker up would be nice and prevent my characters from being KO'd. We're going to do a little bit of cycling. We're going to get rid of the 9 cost Lin. That might be questionable, but I don't want to get rid of the 2Ks in my hand. Maybe 1 Black Maria would be okay to get rid of just because I do have 2, and then I do have the Uso Hachi, which will come in handy later. We're going to get rid of the Jack and the Charlotte Lin. Honestly, probably should have kept at least one of them. They're going to play down the 6 cost Boa Hancock, not use Vivi's ability because they don't have the Don for it. That prevents my Sabo from attacking this turn, which really isn't a big deal. This turn, we're just going to go with the Onigashima Island play and then swing big into their life with our leader. Now, next turn, we are set up perfectly for a 9-drop Kaido or a 9-drop Lin play. We'll be able to remove that Boa Hancock from the field, whether that's trashing it or putting it into their life. Now we're going to go 9,000 with our leader. They might block out of this with their Duval, and that's what they do. They block out of it, and we can just pass it back to them. We don't really have much of a board established right now, but there's a lot of game left to be played. They're going to start off with an 8,000 power swing into my life with their Boa. Now, using leader ability, they can swing with their other Boa. We're going to block and counter with that Sabo just because I really want to keep that on the board, and I'm definitely nervous about keeping too big of a hand size and getting hit with the Charlotte Pudding. I didn't think about it that turn, but then it kind of hits me like, oh boy, I could be in trouble. We're going to play down the 9 cost Kaido. This will allow us to trash one of their Boa Hancocks. We're able to draw a card with leader ability, and this is late in the game when King's leader ability really comes in handy. You're able to start drawing cards. We drew a 2 cost counter in terms of Black Maria, which is great. We're actually going to trash the Black Maria though because we have another one, but if we really needed a 2k counter, that would have been super helpful. They're going to red rock the Kaido, and that's a little bit unfortunate, but we do have a couple of other big bodies to go with. I'm debating here if I should go with 9 cost Linlin or 9 cost Kaido. Both have their pros and cons. I'm leaning towards the Linlin because it will give us another life. We're going to trash the Ice Age because now with our leader ability, we'll be able to hit almost every single body Vivi plays just between Kaido and our leader ability. We can use leader ability now, draw a card, and we are in a great spot. They've got a ton of life, of course, but that's not really a big deal. We've established a big body in Linlin, a decent decent sized body with the 5 cost, 6,000 power Sabo. They do have another red rock to bottom deck my Linlen, which is unfortunate, but they can't do anything with the rest of their turn, so we are in a good spot. We could double queen here. That might be the move. And also swinging with the Sabo to apply even more pressure. I'm kind of looking at what happened right there just because it all went so quickly, but they didn't have any plays, obviously. So we're going to use queen, draw 2, trash 1. I'm thinking we go with the Uso Hachi just because we already have one. Now we'll swing 5,000 with leader. Hoping they don't take that and have a gravity blade trigger or something. And then we're going to play our other queen, draw 2, trash 1. We are going to trash our extra Onigashima Island. We've got 7 cards in hand, so we can't use our leader ability. I probably should have swung with Sabo that turn, but it's not the biggest deal. Of course, after we draw all those cards, they do have the pudding. They can give it rush and swing 8,000 at us. This feels really bad. Our new hand isn't really terrible. We do have the 9-drop Kaido, which is a beast, of course. We are going to start off our turn with the 1-cost Event Searcher, and I'm thinking about taking a Brûlée. I really do like Brûlée in this deck. We're just going to swing 5,000 into the pudding, hope we can get it off the board, or at least get some counter out of hand. Now we're going to swing with our queen, just because we do not want to leave them on the board and leave them standing upright and get hit with the Gravity Blade Raging Tiger. We're going to play more blockers here with our Charlotte Brûlée and then our queen blocker as well. So if they do have a Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, they'll probably bottom deck these. We do use leader ability, get to draw a card, use queen's ability, draw 2, trash 1, and now we've got big bodies back in hand, our 9-drop Kaido and our 9-drop Linlen. They're only going to have so many red rocks, so we might be okay. They're going to play down the 6-cost Boa, use leader ability to give it rush, and we're just going to block with the Brûlée there, get good value from the Brûlée. They have a ton of things that could probably deal with it, so happy to use it and get some value out of it. Now I'm debating what to do again. We have the age-old question of the 9-drop Linlen or the 9-drop Kaido. We're just going to start off with some swings with a queen blocker. They will take that. No trigger. Lucky us. Before we play a big body, we are going to search with the queen just to see what we can get. We do get the 7-cost Jack, and that might not be a bad option to establish on the board and use to get rid of the Boa with. I am thinking, though, that we still go with the 9-drop Kaido, perhaps, or the Charlotte Linlen. Before we do that, though, we'll swing 5,000 with our leader. They'll probably counter out of this. I wonder if they were leaving 2 down up for the Gum Gum Red Hawk, or maybe they just didn't have anything to do with it. Now we're going to go with the Linlen. Again, we're in a little bit of a situation where I don't really want to trash any cards from hand. I will trash the 0-cost event, though. The Ice Age would have been a good card to consider as well, but I'm not sure if this deck plays the 10-cost Shanks or not, and I will need the Ice Age to help me out in removing a 10-cost Shanks. They're going to have another 6-cost Boa. Oh my god. 8,000 at our queen, and we will just take that. Passing it back to us, we're going to swing 6,000 with our queen blocker. They're going to counter out of that. We just want to get some value out of it in case they were to Gravity Blade, Raging Tiger, both my queen blockers. I don't want to keep them both standing. Then we're going to swing 6,000 with our leader, which they will take that one. There is no trigger. That is good news for us. Now I have the question of 9-drop Kaido possibly getting rid of their Boa Hancock, or maybe I want to establish the Jack, and I could also search with the 1-cost Queen as well. I think I'm going to go Kaido here, though, just establish another big body, get rid of this Boa, and I think from here on out, I'm going to be in a great position. Of course, they do still have a ton of life cards and a decently sized hand, but they're going to have no way to deal with all the bodies I have on board. You never know, though. Maybe they could be playing some secret spice or something, but we're going to trash the Queen Searcher from our hand. We're going to trash their Boa. They're going to have to trash a card from their hand, and they trash the 0-cost 3,000 power event Bad Manners Kit Course. We do have our leader ability still to use, which I almost forgot to do. You got to be careful about that, folks. You don't want to forget to use leader ability. We got an extra 2k Suru off that, so that's going to be really huge. Maybe really huge is a little bit of an exaggeration, but when the time comes and you really need a 2k, that can save the game for you. They're going to play down Rayleigh. Minus 3,000 to one of my queens, pop it. Then they're going to give minus 2,000 to my Charlotte Linlen. Then they're giving the Rayleigh Rush, swinging 8,000 into my queen blocker. I might be crazy here and just counter out of this, keeping that queen alive to continue to put pressure on them and just having it on the field as a blocker. I don't think it really mattered if we got rid of it anyway, but in my opinion, with our leader ability, making it able for us to draw an extra card every turn, we can be a little bit more liberal with just how many cards we counter out with, just because we will be getting more of them with our leader ability. Can you tell it was a rough night last night, ladies and gentlemen? Now we're going to start off with a 7,000 power swing from Linlen, which that does hit. That is good news for us. 7,000, I'm thinking, with our King leader into their life, they're going to take that as well. I think the move for the rest of this turn is to hit their Rayleigh with an Ice Age and then play down my Jack and get rid of the Rayleigh that way. Just complete total board domination here. I don't even think the Vivi player has made any huge misplays. Correct me if I'm wrong. I just think that our draws have just been absolutely great this game. We're going to pop the Rayleigh, then use leader ability to draw another card, which is great. We get the 0 cost 3000 power Gum Gum Jet Gatling, our version of the 0 cost 3000 power counter event, and we are in such a good position. They have another Rayleigh. They'll be able to pop my queen. They're going to lower the power of Jack and then swing into the Jack. Now we are going to use our 0 cost event with Suru to counter out of that, keeping that Jack alive. I think now might be the time for us to establish that 10 cost Kaido and Linlin, or we can just put a ton of pressure on their life or even board here. We might just go with the Queen Searcher and find something else to play, a smaller body perhaps. We do find the 9-drop Kaido, which works perfectly this turn. We're going to be able to remove their Rayleigh and then make them trash a card from hand. This is absolutely ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. I've seen all my top end and it has been perfectly timed. This has just been an outstanding game for us. 5,000 into their life with our leader. They will counter out of that. Now 6,000 with Jack. They counter out of that. 9,000 with Linlin. They will not counter out of that. And then 9,000 with our other Kaido. And they are going to counter out of that. This game is over. Have you seen a board that strong before? Like, this is absolutely crazy. I know Vivi is not a meta relevant leader, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm telling you, do not sleep on her because she will catch you off guard. They're going to play down the Boa. That's just GG's though. There's no way for them to come back from that. It would have been amazing for them if they could have established the 10 cost Shanks, but they just never really got the chance. Now on to the next game, GG's. We've got a game against Jewelry Bonnie from OP07. We're on the odd curve and we don't have Onigashima Island. We have the chance to search for it and unfortunately we do not find it. That Charlotte Linlin is a good find though. Maybe we'll be lucky and top deck the Onigashima Island on our second turn. They're going to start off with a baby 5 search and draw another baby 5, leaving no Don up for leader ability. That is perfectly fine with us. We do top deck the Onigashima Island, which is absolutely perfect. We're going to swing 5,000 to the baby 5, which of course they will give us. Then we can play down Onigashima Island to ramp a Don as rested. Next turn we'll be at 6 Don, which is really strong. We don't really have any great 6 Don plays. It doesn't seem like, but we do have the Charlotte Brûlée, which can get us some more ramp value if they do KO it. Bonnie has a ton of tricks to get rest characters, freeze them, so we might not even get any value from it. Of course, we're going to clear this baby 5 searcher right away. They played another one, 7,000 at it. I imagine they will just take that hit, and then we'll play out the 4 cost Charlotte Brûlée. I really want to block with that so that I can get a Don ramped. We are going to be at 9 though next turn, which will allow us to play either our Charlotte Linlin or Kaido, so maybe I don't block with Charlotte Brûlée just yet. We'll see. I mean, getting to 10 would be better, of course, but maybe I just take this hit or counter out of it. Moment of truth. Let me know what you would do in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. This one's kind of a tricky situation, but I'm definitely just overthinking it. I decided to counter out of it, keeping our hand size small so that we can get value with our leader ability, allowing us to draw a card. They will play the killer 2 cost blocker on the field. That is perfectly fine with us. These blockers are best served next to a 8 cost kid, so getting them on the board early does not really do anything for them. It's just kind of like some chump blockers that are in the way a little bit. They're going to rest my Charlotte Brûlée blocker and counter out of that 5,000 swing with leader. Now I'm debating on Charlotte Linlin or Kaido here. I think I'm going to stick with the Charlotte Linlin play this turn just because the Kaido I want to save to get rid of a bigger character of theirs. We're going to use the Linlin to put the Rosinante blocker at the bottom of their life. That Rosinante blocker, in my opinion, is definitely better than the killer blocker, so we might as well put that into their life, get it out of here, and then we do use leader ability to draw a card, which we get the Ice Age. We're going to take this 7,000 swing from leader, get the Queen Searcher, that's pretty nice, and then they are going to play down the Carrot to rest and freeze our Charlotte Brûlée. We're going to swing 9,000 with our Linlin first, which they will use leader ability to rest our king. Then we're going to go with Kaido, and I think we're just going to get rid of the Carrot here before it gets us or gets them too much value. Carrot is such an annoying card to deal with, so even though I could have saved Kaido for a bigger body, I'm going to plan on drawing into another boss monster that'll help me, and there we go. We actually top deck another Kaido, which is perfectly timed. they've got 10 down to work with. We could see a 9-cost Shanks here. That would definitely be annoying, but luckily we can get rid of it. We could get rid of it either with Charlotte Linlin, combining that with an Ice Age, or using Kaido and leader ability. Either of those options sound really appealing. I think the Kaido is more appealing at the moment, just because that'll also force them to trash a card from their hand, and because they don't have a lot of cards in their hand right now, we have a good chance of getting something good out of their hand, like another 9-cost Shanks or a 10-cost Dofi, if they really want to make sure that they keep some counter in their hand, or we get some counter out of their hand, and hey, we're happy with that too. We're going to play down the 9-drop Kaido, use leader ability, minus Shanks by 2, making it 7 cost and allowing us to trash it with Kaido. I'm going to trash the Black Maria 2K, which does feel a little bit bad because, of course, we don't want to get rid of 2Ks, but yeah, I really want to keep that 9-cost Linlin. I think that's going to be helpful in the upcoming turns. They're going to trash the 1-cost Scratchman Apu off of Kaido's ability, and there we go. They do have the 10-cost Doflamingo, which is annoying, but we can deal with. We can deal with it with Ice Age and leader ability, actually. That would be pretty interesting. We could also deal with it with a Charlotte Linlin and an Ice Age. I'm just going to start my turn with a 9,000 power swing from our Kaido. I imagine they'll take this and not give me multiple cards from hand, which they do. Now they're down to 4 life. We're only at 2, but I still feel like we're in a really good spot here. Charlotte Linlin might be the move because it will help us get another life back, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to go with the Charlotte Linlin, debating on what card to trash. I might get rid of the 0-cost 3,000 power counter event just because Jack could also come in handy, and so could that Charlotte Linlin. I don't want to get rid of those, so I get rid of the 0-cost event, use leader ability to draw a card, and I will draw another Charlotte Linlin. Now I'm kind of like, dang, I should have trashed the Charlotte Linlin, but of course I could not guarantee that. How was I to know? I do not have the future vision, despite what they say. They will play down the 8-cost Kid, which is annoying, but we have the big bodies to deal with it this turn. I'm thinking that we use Jack to clear the Rosinante and then just swing big into the Kid multiple times. They will be able to rest one of my big characters, but there's no way they're going to have the counter to get out of multiple big counter swings. We're going to use the 1-cost Event Searcher too, just to see, maybe draw another 2K counter, which we do. We get the Sasaki. Now I'm just going to go 10 with my Linlin and then 10 with a Kaido. I imagine with their leader ability, they'll rest another Kaido and not my leader, but hey, if they wanted to rest my leader, that's fine with me. 10,000 at the Kid. They will counter out of this a little bit surprisingly. They could counter out of this swing hypothetically too, but they'd have to give me both cards from hand, and I would be fine with that result as well. Putting them to 0 is pretty good feeling. Now, yeah, we'll just pass it to them. They're going to have 1 card in their hand. They'd have to top deck something really strong like a Cavendish. I think that's probably their best bet right here, or maybe a Hawkins. They do have the Cavendish, which is good for them, but I think this is going to be too little too late. They could pressure my life here. I do have a lot of counter, and I do have the Linlins to help me get life back. They're going to throw 4 down on their Kid and swing 12,000. Who are they swinging into? A character or my leader? I wonder what would be best in this situation. They're going to swing into my life, 7,000 with Bonnie. I think I probably should counter out of this, and so I will counter out of it. I do have enough counter to counter out of a 12,000 swing into one of my big bodies as well, so that feels very good. If they try to swing into a Kaido or a Linlin, I will be able to keep it alive, and we will do that. Definitely going to be able to apply a ton of pressure this turn, and yeah, I think we've got this in the bag, ladies and gentlemen. No cards in hand must feel so bad for them. We're going to go 9,000 with the Kaido first into the Kid, which will definitely go through. They'll rest my other Kaido with leader ability, and that is perfectly fine. I'm going to be able to swing with our leader first. The reason we're doing that is because we're only going to swing for 5,000, which is a guaranteed hit. Now 9,000 with Charlotte Linlin, and we can play Linlin again. We actually will be able to remove this Cavendish with Jack. We could put it in their life with Linlin, but I think actually removing it with Jack is the play. We're going to play down the Linlin, heal a life, and then not do anything to the Cavendish. Now we'll use leader ability to give Cavendish -2 cost. We will then rest Jack using his ability to draw 1, trash 1, and then pop the Cavendish. Using Onigashima Island, we get a Don back. We drew the Queen, which we decided to keep that over the 2K counter, just because Queen will be good this next turn, just to get more cards in hand, and also just, develop a blocker. Not that I think we really need it. I think we might be able to go for game this turn, but I don't know if I will. I might just play it safe. You know, I prefer to play conservatively, to my detriment sometimes. I was just doing some Enel testing, and there was a moment where I could have either gone for game or waited the next turn and just hoped to survive, and I played it a little bit safe and I ended up losing that game, so I felt pretty silly. They're going to be taking these hits. They don't really have a choice. Now I'm thinking we just go for it. They didn't counter out of any of them. We're going to go 9,000 with our jack. They will counter out of this one, so I will not be able to get lethal, and therefore I will just play the queen. Now we'll do 5,000 with our leader. They will have to take that, and then it's just time for the queen blocker. We are in such a good spot. We draw a queen blocker again, and then the 1 cost event. We're actually going to get rid of the queen blocker just because we don't need it. We'll do the oh my god, I'm losing it, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to do the 1 cost searcher event, draw a 1 cost queen searcher, use leader ability to draw another card. Oh my god, this turn is just so long and so overdone. It doesn't really matter. We're doing all this, but it didn't really get us too far. We got this game in the bag. 10 cost Dofi would be good here, but I don't think that wins them the game either way. 11,000 into our jack. We can actually counter out of this. This is definitely a little bit cheeky. There's no point in countering out of this. We win this game, ladies and gentlemen, but we will, just so we can ensure victory this next turn. They've got the 10 cost Dofi, but that won't really save them here. We can just swing, honestly, just 7,000 with our queen, and that will get the job done, but we'll swing with our jack. That's game. GG's. I love Bonnie. Such a fun leader to play. But maybe just Black Purple King is goated into it, you know? Now we've got a game against Green Yellow Yamato. This game will certainly be interesting. Green Yellow Yamato can really be a hard leader to play against sometimes if you draw poorly. If you don't have a lot of 2Ks, you may get cooked in this matchup. That's just the way it is when you're facing a leader that has double tech and also sometimes has banish. I decided to keep this hand, but then I was kind of like, wait, I don't have any counter. Basically, I've got 3k worth of counter. I do have the 1 cost event that I can use and hopefully find some counter with, so I take the 2k Sasaki and pass it back to them. I'm really happy about that. I also would love to top deck an Onigashima Island. We do not have one, and you know how I feel about playing Onigashima Island on turn 2. It's a must. Now we're going to play down the 1 cost queen searcher, and we will find Onigashima Island here. Tempting to take the jack, you know, but at the same time, I don't know how relevant that's going to be in the matchup. We're going to swing 7,000 into their leader. They will take this. That's not super surprising. They take a minute to pass it back to me, and I am so nervous that maybe they have a Charlotte Cracker trigger, and then they'd be able to swing double attack at me 2 times in a row. That would feel so bad. But alas, they do not, so they just pass it back to us, and we can pass it to them. They're going to be at 4 Don. We could likely see a 9,000 power swing here. They decide to go with the 2 cost Nami to give their leader banish. Now they're only swinging 7,000. I think it might be a little bit early to play the Nami, at least in my opinion, just because when I play Green Yellow Yamato, at least I like to do banish Nami when I'm swinging for like at least 9,000, 7,000 with 6 cards in hand. I think I'm likely to have the 3k counter, or my opponent is likely to have the 3k counter, so I don't love that play by them, but hey, to each their own. We are able to counter out of this. Now back to me, and I have to make the choice of whether or not to play Onigashima Island or play down the Sabo blocker. I think Sabo blocker just has to be the move here. Not only is setting up a blocker a good idea, but filtering my hand a little bit to get some 2k counters is going to be nice. I decide to trash Onigashima Island, which feels bad, and then also the 9 cost Kaido. I don't think the 9 cost Kaido will be too helpful in this matchup just because Green Yellow Yamato does not typically play a lot of big bodies. I think having this blocker out is really good. However, playing against green decks, you can never hide behind blockers because they could have the Hody Jones, which would rest them. That feels so bad. Like, that is literally one of the best finishers in the game. You think you're safe even if you have 2 blockers, but Hody Jones will rest them both. They're just going to swing big here, 11,000 at us, and we are going to block out of this, I think. I think it's still a little early to take life against the Yamato just because that will put some of their trigger effects as active, like Hikinojo, and then also their other leader ability of being able to give 2 rested Don to a character. That is really strong, especially late game. They'd be able to turn this Onami into a 5,000 power swing pretty easily, so to avoid that, I think blocking just is the move here. RIP Sabo. This next turn we'll likely do a queen play just to get some more cards in our hand and develop a blocker. We'll start with a 7,000 swing from our leader into them. They've got a ton of cards in hand, but they do decide to take that, which is pretty interesting. Moment of truth. Do they have a trigger? Drum roll, please, ladies and gentlemen. The suspense is building. It's getting faster and faster. Your heart is beating. They do have the L Thor trigger, which pops my 1 cost queen That's nothing too crazy, you know. I'm fine to let that go. I deploy the queen, but I don't use Queen's effect just because I don't want to go down and down. I want to be able to play Charlotte Lindland this next turn and potentially deal with a body that they play, or just heal a life in general. I mean, you can never have too much life against green yellow Yamato, so I think that's the move, and yeah, that's why I decide not to use Queen's ability, even though drawing 2 and trashing 1 would have felt so good. They've got a ton of cards in hand. They could definitely hide behind like some counter events and maybe a couple blockers like the Momonosuke. The 5 cost is a pretty popular one in green yellow Yamato. They're just going to go with 11,000 though, and do I block with Queen here? I think there's a good like argument too, but at the same time I can take this, get some cards in hand, and then heal my life with Charlotte Lindland. It was a little bit like, I don't know. If you told me I should have blocked with Queen there, I would definitely kind of listen to you, but I also think Queen I could maybe use to put some pressure on this life this next turn, so I don't know. We'll see. I did get a 2k Suru and a 4-cost Brûlé blocker from my life, which are 2 very good cards to get from life. They're going to swing 5,000 at us with Onami, and for a second I forget to block with Queen for free, so I almost countered out of this. We're just going to start off with a 5,000 swing into that Onami, get it off the board, get it out of our sight. We don't want to have to deal with this. And then we're going to do Charlotte Lindland, probably trash a Charlotte Brûlé, or maybe we go with the 2K. We're going to go with the Brûlé just because, again, as I mentioned before, those could get rested by a Hody Jones, and that would feel so bad. We can use leader ability to draw another card, but we decide not to. We decide to keep our hand a little bit, not our hand, our Don a little bit healthy. You never know what we want to do next turn. Now, 10 Don for them to work with. A Hody Jones wouldn't be surprising, but they would have to take their last life, which I know would feel bad for them and basically put them in lethal range. They could have a bunch of counter events in their hand, but I don't think it's worth it personally. They do have Straw Sword to rest our Queen blocker. I think that card is super overrated. I mean, underrated. Oh my god. I think it's super underrated. It's from Starter Deck 2. Now they're going to rest my Charlotte Lindland as well. They're doing a couple different events. They've got the Ghastly 9-sword style Asura Demon Flash to bump their Yamato. They forget to swing with it, and even if they did, that was GG's anyway. We were just in a great spot, and even if they cleared my Lindland, I don't really think that would have changed the course of the game. So GG's, on to the next one. Our final match of the day is going to be a black and purple mirror match. We're going to be facing the new OP09 Monkey D. Luffy though. That leader is a ton of fun. If you haven't tried it out yet, give it a shot. We are on the even curve, which is cool with us. We can start out with the 1-cost Queen Searcher, and we take the 9-drop Kaido. I think that'll be a really good card in this matchup. I'm looking at you, 8-drop Gecko Moria. We're going to be able to pop it with it. We do have the Onigashima Island in our hand, which we love. They have the 3-cost Zoro play, which is the best play for Purple Black Luffy on turn 1, or turn 2, pardon me. And they get to ramp and swing 7,000 into us. We will just take that, and now we'll swing 6,000 into them, which they will counter out of, and then we do Onigashima Island. They are going to have another 3-cost Zoro to ramp even more. This deck just ramps so fast. They're going to be able to apply a ton of pressure early on between both of these Zoros and their leader. This really stinks. 8,000 at us with their Zoro they played last turn. Should I counter out of this? I do have a ton of 2Ks in my hand, but man, does it feel bad to counter out so early and kind of lower my hand size. That's the one good thing right now, is at least they have only 4 cards in hand. Maybe I'm kind of just coping though. 8,000 at us. I decide to take it, which might be questionable, but I can counter out of this next swing from their leader. 7,000 at us, and we will give them the 2K, 1K. Yeah, it's feeling bad, man. We do have a Queen blocker that is pretty good. The 5-cost Sabo is also very nice in this position, but I've got a ton of 2Ks in my hand, and the bigger bodies I do want to keep. Like, I don't really feel like cycling my hand right now, but Queen could get popped by the opponent's starter deck 21, not starter deck 21, starter deck 14 Sanji, black 5-cost Sanji that pops a 5-cost or less. That card is so good. We're going to start off with a 7,000 swing into their Zoro, and if I play Queen, that risks getting popped by that card. They will have enough Don, though, to play a Gecko Moria this next turn, and so maybe the chances they actually play the Sanji are pretty low. We're not going to use Queen's ability to draw just because we want to be able to play a big body this next turn. They are going to play down the 7-cost Sanji from OP09. This allows them to rest my Queen blocker, and are they going to pressure life here? Or are they going to try to clear my queen? We are going to let them clear our queen, definitely. It still like was a blocker basically. 6,000 at us and we can 2k out of this. And if they swing 6,000 with Zoro, we can counter out of that. But they just swing 5,000, so we do counter out of that. We're going to start off with a 5,000 power swing into their Zoro. I would not be surprised if they counter this or let it go because they can just bring it back with the Gecko Moria. But with 4 cards in hand, if they have any counter, I would counter out of it if I was them. And then we're just going to play down the 10-drop Kaido and Linlin. This is kind of like a Hail Mary for us, you know, like this game has gotten away from us a little bit. And if we can do a Black Maria Sabo combo, we're going to be in a really good spot. We do have that 5-cost Sabo, which will be so helpful and I think might actually help us win the game. 9,000 at us with their 3-cost Zoro. They're just throwing a bunch of Don on it. Maybe they don't want to play a Gecko Moria if they know it's just going to get removed this next turn. 3 Don on their leader, 4 Don on their leader, ladies and gentlemen. 9,000 at us. This, I think we should probably counter out of. I don't want to go down to 0 life. Yeah, I mean, it feels bad though. They're going to be able to swing 9,000 with Sanji this next turn, so I might as well just take that and then counter out of the Sanji swing. We can use 0-cost event, trash our Ice Age, and then give them a 2k to get out of that. The Queen Sabo combo could be really nice this turn. Being able to set up 2 blockers and then heal a life and clear their board. Wow, that feels good. We are going to make a small misplay by using Queen's ability. I think it's a misplay just because now we have to use Onigashima Island to get back up to 10 Don. And because we're going to do that, we're going to, when we ramp or de-ramp down to 10 or down to 0, we're not going to be able to use Onigashima Island to get us to 1, which means we won't be able to play Black Maria next turn, which feels really bad. Yeah, so that might be a little bit of a misplay on our part. I don't know. Yeah, I think it definitely is. Now I'm like realizing it and I'm like, oh, I have to use Onigashima now just to get Kaido and Linlin's effect, but then I can't play Black Maria next turn. Oh my god, it feels so bad. We are going to be able to heal a life, clear their board, make them trash a life, swing 12,000 into them. Man, does this feel good. 2 non-KOable blockers, at least from effects. We are in a good spot. Of course, Black Purple Luffy, they're at 10 Don. They play a ton of big bodies, so they are certainly not out of it yet. 9-cost Kaido, I don't see that played often in Black Purple Luffy. They're going to trash the Gum Gum Giant, which is like, whoa, Gum Gum Giant's a really good card. I'm surprised they trashed it. They'll trash our Sabo, which feels bad, but hey, I guess it acted like a blocker this turn. We'll search with the 1-cost Searcher event, and we'll take the 2k Black Maria. Nice to find a 2k on that search, and unfortunately, we're just going to swing 6,000 into their life with our leader. Maybe they take this. No, they don't. They had the 2k, and then we're going to swing big with our Kaido and Linlin. They're going to have to take this, basically, and now they're down to 1 life. We are in a pretty good position if we can survive this next turn. 8,000 power of counter is crazy to have with only 4 cards in hand. They do have the Usohachi, which feels really bad. I'm like, oh my god, do they have lethal here? But they do not. They're going to swing 9,000 with their leader, and I'm debating on countering out of this. But I can actually counter out of their Kaido swing, so I'm going to kind of bait them to swing into my life with their Kaido. Leaving no Don up for a Gum Gum Giant and not swinging into my board at all. So I think that's the move. I'm going to take this hit. We get the Charlotte Linlin. Doesn't matter. Now they're going to swing 12,000 into our life, and we can get out of this. We have 13,000 in counter. I know they could not believe this when this happened. 13,000, and now this is probably just going to be GG's. We will start with a 7,000 power swing with our Queen. Even if they get out of this, we'll have a swing with our leader. Then 10-drop Kaido and Linlin, and yeah, that's GG's. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the games I got for you today. What did you think about him? I love this leader so much. I really have had a lot of success with him. Of course, he's not going to be meta. You're going to probably get cooked by a Dofi or a Black Yellow Luffy. Lucci is also a hard matchup. That's just the way it goes sometimes, you know? We're trying to cook with an off-meta leader. There's a reason he's off-meta. Let me know what you thought about the games down below in the comments, and consider subscribing too. All you have to do to enter the giveaway for a custom leader is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. If you've made it this far, you're a real one. My voice is getting tired. It's been a long day. That's all I got for you. Peace. That was cringe. Maybe. I don't know. Don't forget to subscribe, please.